It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was watering the petunias on the porch of my grandmother's house when my brother Mark and his wife Jessica pulled into the driveway. The way they slammed the car doors, I knew this wasn't just a casual visit. It was the look on Jessica's face when she stepped out of the car, though, that sent a chill down my spine. She didn't even bother with a greeting before launching into a speech about how unfair it was that I was living here all alone while they were struggling with a new baby in a cramped apartment. Before I could even find my voice, Mark chimed in, presenting me with a neatly typed document outlining their plan to take over the house. The audacity of it took my breath away. Looking back, that was the day my life imploded. I should have seen it coming, I suppose.
There had always been an undercurrent of something in my family, a subtle pressure that I could never quite understand. But nothing could have prepared me for the level of betrayal that was about to unfold. Before I dive deeper into the story, let me introduce myself. My name is Anna, and I'm currently navigating a family crisis that has turned my world upside down. I'd love to know where you all are listening from. Please drop a comment and tell me where in the world you are, and maybe share a quick story about a time your family has surprised you. I'm looking for a little connection and support as I share my story. The house, this beautiful, slightly dilapidated Victorian, had been in my family for generations. My grandparents, bless their souls, had poured their lives into it, and when they passed, they left it to me, their only granddaughter.
It was more than just a house. It was a repository of memories, a tangible link to my past. Now, here was Mark, my own brother, acting like he was entitled to it just because he and Jessica had decided to start a family. "Anna," he said, his voice laced with an infuriating blend of condescension and entitlement, "we've thought this through. You're single. You don't need all this space. We have a baby now, and we're struggling. It's the logical thing to do." Jessica nodded vehemently, her eyes gleaming with a manic intensity that bordered on frightening. "We even have a schedule here. Mark's going to do some repairs. I will keep the house clean. You can visit whenever you want." The document they presented was disturbingly detailed.
It included a breakdown of their monthly expenses, a projected budget based on the assumption that they would no longer be paying rent, and a list of renovations they planned to undertake to modernize the house. They had even gone so far as to allocate me a small guest room, as if they were doing me a favor by allowing me to visit my own home. "You can't be serious." I finally managed to choke out, my voice trembling with disbelief. "This is my house. My grandparents left it to me." Mark sighed dramatically. "We know, Anna, but be reasonable. We're family. Family helps each other out." That's when my parents arrived. My mother and father, who had always seemed to favor Mark, walked in with knowing looks on their faces. I should have known that they would support this absurdity. "They always did favor Mark,"
"Anna, darling," my mother said, her voice dripping with honeyed manipulation. "Mark is right. You have to think about what's best for the family. Jessica is having a hard time with the baby and Mark is working so hard. I think this is the only way." My father, usually a man of few words, nodded in agreement. "It's the right thing to do, Anna. Don't be selfish." The room seemed to spin. The weight of their combined expectations pressed down on me, suffocating me. I felt like I was being cornered, manipulated, and betrayed by the very people who were supposed to love and support me. I need time to think about this," I stammered, backing away from them. "There's nothing to think about," Jessica snapped, her voice sharp and impatient. "We need an answer now." I stood my ground, a surge of defiance. "No. I'm not going to be bullied into this. This is my house, and I'm not giving it up." The look on Jessica's face hardened into a mask of pure hatred. "Fine," she hissed. "Don't say we didn't try to be reasonable. You'll regret this, Anna. You'll regret this so much." I watched them leave, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning. The next few weeks were a living hell. Jessica launched a full-scale social media campaign against me, portraying me as a heartless, selfish woman who is denying her own brother and his family a decent place to live. She posted pictures of their cramped apartment, exaggerating the squalor and highlighting the lack of space for the baby. She even created a hashtag, #AnnaGiveUpTheHouse, and encouraged her followers to harass me online. I was inundated with hateful messages, nasty comments, and even death threats. My phone rang constantly with anonymous calls, and I started receiving disturbing packages in the mail. I felt like I was being stalked, hunted, and publicly shamed. But the worst part was the reaction of my parents. They continued to pressure me, calling me daily to berate me for being so stubborn and uncooperative. They accused me of ruining the family and threatened to cut me out of their lives if I didn't give in to Mark and Jessica's demands. One morning, a sheriff's deputy served me with a lawsuit. Mark was suing me, claiming that the house was part of a shared family estate and that he was entitled to a portion of its value. The lawsuit was based on a flimsy legal argument, but I knew that it would be expensive and time-consuming to fight. I was devastated. Not only was I being attacked online and ostracized by my family, but now I was facing a legal battle that I couldn't afford. I felt completely alone, overwhelmed, and utterly heartbroken. I confided in my best friend Sarah over coffee one afternoon. Sarah had always been my rock, my voice of reason, and my unwavering source of support. "Anna, this is insane," she said, her eyes blazing with righteous anger. "They can't just bully you into giving up your inheritance. You have to fight back." "But how?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I don't have the money for a lawyer. And even if I did, it's my family. How can I sue my own brother?" Sarah took my hand and squeezed it tightly. "You have to protect yourself, Anna. This isn't about family anymore. This is about greed and manipulation, and you need to expose them for what they are." With Sarah's encouragement, I decided to consult with a lawyer. I found a small firm that specialized in estate law, and after hearing my story, they agreed to take my case pro bono. My lawyer, Emily, was a sharp, no-nonsense woman who didn't mince words. "This lawsuit is a joke," she said, after reviewing the documents. "But that doesn't mean it won't be a pain in the ass to fight. We need to find something that will discredit their claim, something that will show the court that they're not acting in good faith." We started digging. Emily subpoenaed my parents' bank records, hoping to find some evidence that they were funding Mark's lawsuit. What we found was far more shocking than I could have ever imagined.
Not only were my parents funding the lawsuit, but they had also transferred a significant amount of money to Mark and Jessica's account in the months leading up to their demands for the house. The transfers were disguised as gifts, but the amounts were far too large to be considered ordinary presents. I was stunned. My own parents were actively working against me, undermining my financial security, and supporting my brother's attempt to steal my inheritance. The betrayal cut deep, leaving me feeling hollow and numb. I confronted my parents, armed with the bank statements and a burning rage that I could no longer contain. "How could you do this?" I screamed, my voice cracking with emotion. "How could you betray me like this?" "I'm your daughter." My mother burst into tears, but my father remained stoic, his face etched with a stubborn resolve. "We're doing what's best for the family," he said, his voice cold and unyielding. "Mark needs this house. You don't." "But why?" I demanded. "Why are you so determined to give him everything, even at my expense?" My mother sobbed harder, burying her face in her hands. It's complicated," she whispered. "Complicated?" I scoffed. "What's so complicated about supporting your own daughter? What's so complicated about telling the truth?" The truth, as it turned out, was far more twisted and convoluted than I could have ever imagined. While reviewing the documents for the lawsuit, Emily discovered something odd. There was a family agreement included as evidence, supposedly signed by my grandparents, my parents, Mark, and myself, stating that all family assets were to be divided equally among the siblings, regardless of any wills or inheritances.
The problem was, my signature on the agreement was a forgery. I had never seen the document before, let alone signed it. Emily immediately alerted the authorities, and an investigation was launched. The handwriting expert confirmed that my signature was indeed a fake, and the police began to suspect that Mark and Jessica had fabricated the agreement to strengthen their legal claim. As the investigation unfolded, another shocking truth came to light. Jessica had been lying about their financial struggles. While they were certainly not wealthy, they were far from being destitute. Jessica had been exaggerating their situation to manipulate me and garner sympathy on social media. I felt a surge of vindication. Finally, the truth was coming out. Their lies were being exposed, and their carefully constructed facade was crumbling around them.
But the biggest shock of all came when Emily uncovered a long-held family secret that had been buried for decades. "Anna," she said, her voice hushed and grave, "I think I know why your parents are so determined to favor Mark." She then revealed that Mark was not my full brother. He was my half-brother, the product of an affair my mother had many years ago. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. It explained so much. It explained why my parents had always treated Mark differently, why they had always seemed to prioritize his needs over mine, and why they were so willing to sacrifice my happiness for his. Emily also discovered that Mark's biological father, a wealthy businessman, had left him a substantial amount of money in a trust fund. Some of that money had been used to purchase the apartment that Mark and Jessica were now claiming was too small for their family.
The pieces of the puzzle finally clicked into place. Mark felt entitled to my house because he believed that he deserved it. Not only because he was struggling financially, but also because he felt like he had been cheated out of his rightful inheritance. I confronted Mark with the truth, armed with the evidence that Emily had uncovered. "I know everything," I said, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and sorrow. "I know about your real father, I know about the money, and I know about the affair." Mark's face paled, and he hung his head in shame. "It's true," he mumbled. "It all true." He then confessed that the lawsuit was a manipulative scheme, orchestrated by Jessica and fueled by his own sense of entitlement. He admitted that he had forged the family agreement and that Jessica had exaggerated their financial struggles to gain sympathy. I was disgusted. The level of deceit and betrayal was staggering. These were my family, the people I grew up with. How could they be so cruel? I made a difficult decision. I severed ties with my family. I couldn't forgive them for what they had done. I couldn't trust them anymore. I needed to protect myself, both emotionally and financially, from their toxic influence. The lawsuit dragged on for months, but in the end, I won. The court ruled in my favor, dismissing Mark's claim and ordering him to pay my legal fees. The forged family agreement was deemed inadmissible, and Jessica's lies were exposed. I kept my house. I refused to let them take it from me. It was a symbol of my resilience, a testament to my strength, and a reminder that I could overcome anything, even the betrayal of my own family. In the aftermath of the ordeal, I found a strange sense of peace.
I finally understood why my family had always treated me the way they did. I understood why I had always felt like an outsider, like I didn't quite belong. The truth, as painful as it was, had set me free. I rebuilt my life, surrounded by friends who loved and supported me for who I was, not for what I could give them. I focused on my career, my hobbies, and my own well-being. I learned to forgive myself for the mistakes I had made and to embrace the future with hope and optimism. My grandmother's house, once a source of conflict and pain, became my sanctuary. I filled it with love, laughter, and the warmth of genuine friendship. It was no longer just a house. It was a home, a place where I could be myself, without judgment or expectations. And so, I stand here today a stronger, wiser, and more resilient woman who has survived the ultimate betrayal and emerged victorious.
It was a long, hard-fought battle, but I came out on top. If you like this story of family drama, betrayal, and ultimate triumph, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more stories just like this one.